Find your purpose to finally quit porn. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. Thanks for joining me back here on day 8. Purpose. Okay, so I would be remiss if we didn't talk about purpose in this program because you hear me talk. You've heard me say it probably hundreds of times now that the way out is to find your purpose in terms of your work, your relationships, and your hobbies. So today, I just want to define and think about purpose just a little bit to inspire you in your journal to think about what really is your purpose. You, your purpose, not the purpose that other people have programmed you to think is your purpose, but authentically, way down deep inside of you, what's the thing you've always wanted to do? And if we can have you do that in your vocation, your work, that would be amazing. If you can't create that in your vocation, you can absolutely create that in your avocation, which are your hobbies. So let's break that down a little bit today and set you off on your way to begin to evaluate what your purpose is. Now, there's a caveat, and I'm going to make a video on this, but the caveat is self awareness can be low if you've gone into the screen consistently and frequently. When you're going into the screen, that's all your brain thinks about. So, I talk to people all day, every day who tell me all I think about is sex. So, sex is not your purpose. That is a coping mechanism. So, when you start to leave the screen behind, that brain pattern's going to unwire. And in there is going to be your purpose. And I encourage you to be able to look at it and to feel it so that you can figure out what it is. Because once you start thinking about that and you get fired up about how to create that in your life, you're not going to need to go back into the screen. Okay, so purpose. Purpose is that special thing inside of you that you've been wanting to do forever. We're going to talk about your inner child in upcoming lessons, but that little kid in you, what did he want to do? What did he want to be? How did he want to spend his time? That's what I want you to think about. So, from the beginning of time, I've wanted to be able to think about concepts that are unique and slightly intense and be able to help people be the best version of themselves using these forward thinking concepts. And cello, here I am doing that. I've been doing it since I had the courage to be able to look inside myself and say, what do you really want to do, Trish? And I'm going to share with you in just a minute how I got there. And it's partially because of our reading, our book that we have here for our offensive plan, Turning Pro. So we're going to get there in a second, but thinking about what your purpose is, how do you want to spend your days? What do you want to do for your work? Now, the reason that's important is because when you figure out what you really want to do, you're jazzed up to get out of bed each day and to go do that thing. You're not dragging yourself out of bed to go do the thing that you have to. Every day becomes reframed that you get to do that thing today, not that you have to do that thing today. And the same thing in your relationships. When your relationships are awesome, don't get me wrong, they take work, but when they rock, you're excited to see your people each day. When I wake up, I am glad to see the hubs, even though he's annoying sometimes, right? I'm annoying sometimes, but we crack up about it. I'm psyched to see my kids and we have a blast together. And of course, it's not all roses and sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, but at the core of it, very, very enjoyable. And hobbies. I love to be able to spend my free time doing the things that I like. That's what I want for you. So, in your journal today, I want you to think about what's the one thing that you would love to do for work if you're not doing work that you love. Here's how you're going to get there. You're going to write down all the things that you love to do. And especially if you haven't done those things in a while because you're busy working at a job that puts food on the table. And I get that for sure. And if you're busy, like, arguing with your partner because you're tired from the job that puts food on the table and you're annoyed by your kids because you have 1 ounce of energy by the time you get home, or you're irritated by your roommate or your girlfriend, so rethinking these things. If you could get up to go be paid to do one thing today, what would it be? Because everything is monetizable. It might not be monetizable tomorrow, but you can get there if you want to. First, you have to know what it is. So think about what you'd like to do, spending your time on purpose. Now, think about your relationships too. I know that you might be wanting a relationship, you might not have one. What is the ideal relationship that you would like to bring towards you? And I'm a pragmatic optimist. You're not going to sit around and wait for this relationship to knock on the front door and, come in like unfortunately your training your brain happens by going into the screen. That's not how it works in the real world. You're going to have to get out there in your hobbies and start meeting like-minded people so that attraction can brew over time. That's the pragmatic part. The optimistic part is that it absolutely can happen. If you put yourself in circles with other people that like the same things that you do, they're going to have very similar energy to you. And when you clean your energy up by not going into the screen, literally, when you make your electromagnetic field better and positive to attract instead of negative to repel, you are going to attract a partner towards you. The same thing with the partner that you have. When you go into the screen, you're literally negating the electromagnetic field around your brain and body. You're making it so that it's negative. We know when you go into the screen, it puts your brain in these extremes of too fast and too slow. Those energies push people away. When you're in the middle, you're in the optimal energy field that pulls people and opportunities towards you. It's the law of attraction. So you can heal your relationship by healing your brain, and then of course taking some steps to rebuild, rekindle the fire there. And then think about your hobbies. What do you like to do? This is going to be very important because we've already talked about saying goodbye to porn and the holes that are going to be left when you no longer spend a lot of time and energy thinking about sex and thinking about porn. You are going to need other things to think about, put your energy towards, give you dopamine in your brain, and to fire you up about life in the real world. We don't want a life of drudgery. Nobody should have a life of drudgery. You totally deserve to have the life that you want, and you can have it. You can have it, but you need to know what it is. So we're going to identify, what is that life? What does it look like? Where do you go for work that feeds you and makes you money? Who are the people that you hang out with that feel good to you? And what are the things that you go do to have fun, offset stress, to be engaged in the world, and to be fired up about your life so each day you want to wake up and embrace it? That is your purpose. Now, here's another thing that I want to tell you. Your purpose is different from every single person's in the entire world, even if it looks similar. There's no comparing ourselves to other people. We're going to be done doing that. We're going to stay in our lane and think about what you're trying to create, regardless of what other people are creating intentionally in their lives or are doing by default in their lives. When you're focused on your own game, then you stay focused and you stay happy and excited and enjoy. Okay, so let's go back to the book Turning Pro for a minute. I found that book when I was moving from Buffalo, New York, where I never wanted to be. I never felt like I fit in there. I never felt like I fit in with my family of origin. I never felt like that's where I would say all the time, I was born in the wrong place. This doesn't feel right to me. And we moved to North Carolina. But what was important at that time, and you'll read it in the book, he talks about a shadow life. And that when you turn from amateur to pro, you're coming out of this shadow existence into your authentic existence. And my shadow existence was one of a university professor, which I loved and I was great and I was making a lot of money doing it. But it always felt shadowy. So to be able to transition from that shadow life into an authentic life, I had to leave those comforts behind. And we've talked about when you go into the screen, it is providing you comforts. I had to leave the comfort of security. I was tenured. They basically couldn't fire me no matter what I did, but I always did good things. I had been promoted. I got a big pay raise that I never actually saw in a check because I had the courage in the face of fear to say to myself and to everybody else who told me I couldn't do it. Literally, the people in my world said, "You can't move 5 kids, 2 dogs, and 2 cats and get 2 new jobs in a different state far away." And what do you think I said? Of course, with courage, fighting through fear, I said, "Oh, yeah, watch me." And I did it. And I left that job where it had that comfort and I created my own businesses in my pro life instead of the shadow life that I comfortably was in. I encourage you to explore that today so that you can create it for yourself. Everybody can do it. I'm not unique. I'm just figuring it out and trying to help other people do that too. Because when you hit that sweet spot, you're in flow. And you know how I feel about the concept of flow. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi is the researcher who studied flow. When you find your purpose in everything you're doing, even brushing your teeth can make your brain go into the brain boosting mode. So you can find brain boosting mode all day long in your work, in your people, in your routines, and it keeps you in that sweet spot of flow where life feels good, you're contributing, you're bringing towards you all the things that you need. When you find your purpose and you connect in that way, everything you need will come to you. Okay, so go journal that and meet me tomorrow for day 9. I'll see you there. And until then, control your brain or it'll control you.